Alright, greetings everybody and welcome to a long overdue video. Mostly long and overdue because I've been keeping an eye on two things. One, what's been happening with the JP meta, which has been possibly insanity. And second, GDQ, Games Done Quick. It's an awesome speedrunning marathon and it's been eating up a ton of my time, to which I have not been spending on Wotv, which... hey, everybody needs a vacation, right? All right, so anyway, today we're going to be talking about Shrecken, who on JP, I have been keeping a very, very close eye on basically kind of the top 1,000. I've been trying to stay in top 1,000, and it's getting to the point of awful. And I just mean that in the sense that this week was kind of a little bit of a nasty week of just another incredibly strong character that has been pushing more and more characters down. And yeah, that of course is Shrecken, who at first, honestly, like I never didn't put stock into the fact that she would be quite possibly just overcompensated for as just a Wotv character, as a character that nobody knew about, and that they want to be very popular and whatnot. And to that extent, at least on JP, the top 1,000 is a lot of her, just a lot of her in every single party comp imaginable. Already a lot of them boosted to 140, which kind of shows the direction that whales have been pushed and are being pushed with this. Agumi is kind of, as far as I can tell, is doing the ideology that, hey, we're going to put this character out at basically half cost that you can just buy right away with shards and everything. Well, we're going to expect you guys to have these are going to be incredibly strong. And yeah, you're just gonna want to do that. So that seems to be the case with Shrecken. All right. Of course, we're gonna refer to a video today. Not that one. Sorry, that's the wrong one. That's a hint as to what music we're using in the background. I wanted to, of course, bring up my all-time favorite and beloved Peachin, who this week did two trial videos, and it's very rare that we see him do multiple trial videos unless a character is very interesting / possibly way too strong, and that's the case with her. I've seen a ton of videos about her in Mono Wind, and I think that it is definitely strong. It looks really good for Wind in certain compositions with Sedali, Flaglassy, or even, of course, Wind Veritas. But it goes beyond that to the point that Peachin tested all of these comps with incredibly high-end 140 cost, what am I saying? 140 build of all of these characters. And the thing that stands out to be true is that Shrecken is a force to be reckoned with in all of them. But today I want to actually highlight the one that I think is the most noteworthy, and that would be the one on the top right here, which is her, Gilgamesh, and AC Sephiroth for all intents. The build in each of these is pretty basic, I want to say. Like, there isn't too many different or limited time BCs in some of them, especially this one. However, I think not having the EV card from FF9 will be painful. It'll be interesting to see if that comes back soon. That might be a VC that people are actually more targeting, but people who do already have AC Sephiroth and Gilgamesh might be really looking for Shrecken. And I'm going to show off this match right here, but at slightly faster moments. So here's my playback speed. to kind of show this, because this is a composition that I talked about in the previous week as being one of the strongest comps in the game. Gilgamesh, Summer Glassy, and AC Sephiroth, which is looking to be, you know, still generally strong. But again, with taking a look at how this new character is, Shrecken is absolutely loaded in her entire kit, and in the right combination of characters, spacing, and maps, which this is definitely one of those, can unleash some bloody scary fury here in a second. So nothing too terribly scary at this point. You even see we gets a couple of nice hits off against her, but then it's that she restores for 8,000. She hits with a double hit, and then she hits with a secondary hit from Gilgamesh, which is just too much. It is too much for most characters to actually have to deal with. Not to mention her innate curse resistance has put her in prime. Ought to be very, very prominently set up in the meta, as you know, as you can see, her curse resistance here was enough to keep curse from going off, and she still has enough durability even from all of this stuff to be really, 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 really hard to kill. I mean, it's partially that her magic attacks just hit so incredibly hard, but then there's also that she has a follow-up attack and she gets a lot of HP regen, so it's a pretty convincing win there. But then we get into a few other matches. So this one is against the Greatsword comp, and just skipping ahead, the result a very, 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 very convincing win. Which brings us into the next matchup, which is another matchup that I think is quite strong. Luciel is a very, very strong delay character, but as I noted much, much earlier when she came out, I basically picked her out as being a character that would start falling off the sooner that stronger mages came along. And that does seem to be the case. So we got Ash and Mont as well as Cypher, two characters that are definitely, absolutely still top tier. But again, skipping ahead, the actual result, you can see, just as I basically picked out, as soon as Luciel is on her own, she can't do anything and essentially falls apart very, very quickly, and the match is over. Her stall works incredibly well against a single character. It does not work well against multiple characters, and that's the problem, because essentially what you're looking at, why this comp is so strong, it's a combination of curse against characters that don't really have any innate curse resistance, which disables healing. It's Gilgamesh and the new character basically launching a volley of follow-up attacks with a great amount of healing in there, and I don't think that really any comp can go up against this. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe within a week or so we see this being listed as just the best. I really think, I mean, there's a bunch of different things tested, and obviously this is not a Shrecken comp versus Shrecken comp video, but oh yeah, sorry, and this one which is I think just fire, oh no, sorry, fire and Luciel, maybe Ed. There you go. But yeah, taking a look at this comp, it went up against a multitude of different things, from range to everything, and it basically passed the test on all of them with flying colors. I would say that this is probably looking to be the strongest comp in the game, depending on how many Shreckens are actually going to be available out there, which, given my experience with Arena, seems to be basically top 1,000, and from my own preview, it's really difficult to fight against them and her. She has non-elemental attacks that can basically deal with Gilgamesh's. She can deal with basically anything you throw against her. and have enough self-sustain to really, really push for him first. So going back up to the top of this video, just again, because of what Peachin is highlighting here and the teams that he is testing, out of all of them, this top right one with Shrecken, Gilgamesh, and AC Sephiroth seems to be the strongest in the game, as it outperformed all of these other ones against the same teams. Now, when we get into it, I guess, or in terms of prediction, whether or not any of these are going to reign supreme against each other, I don't know. The weakest one seems to be the Helena old Doa comp. It just doesn't seem to hold up that well and falls apart really quickly. In terms of Luciel versus Fina, which is kind of the only difference between the bottom two teams, I think that the Fina one is overall better because it has just a stronger focus towards magic damage with a high amount of sustain. And this top right one, as I've said, if it kind of falls apart, and I think that in a Shrecken versus Shrecken matchup, if we were to put these two teams up against each other, top one will almost certainly come out. So this is my number one for Shrecken comp so far. This is my number two, number three, and number four in terms of the ones that are here. Of course, Peachin also take a look at Mono Wind, and as I said it earlier, I think that's looking generally better now. But Rainbow still seems heads and tails way stronger. So yes, and this kind of brings me to the last thing I wanted to talk about this video, which is a emerging pattern. It's not inherently negative for characters to come out and be stronger than previous characters, although I have to admit that it is probably a little bit, it feels a little more aggressive in terms of how strong the characters are actually ending up. Old Doa, Helena, and Old are all starting to feel considerably kind of underpinned against these characters, but even so that characters like Shrecken, it feels just almost a little bit heads and tails. It could be just this idea that I was picking up on, that the first mage to come around with good sustain and everything would be very strong into this, and that seems to hold up in terms of like well, basically what's just going on, but or what has happened. But I do want to kind of keep a more close eye on in terms of the next character to come, because at this point it's starting to feel a little bit too much like a bad pattern that maybe Yumi is like really driving home. Because as a lot of JP players are noting, it's almost impossible to keep up at this point with how strong new characters feel, and this is happening every 2 weeks. I kind of missed last year when it was a little bit plateau. I know this might come as probably a little bit against my own words earlier. It's always that balance of finding moments where you can feel like you're getting a little bit of a break versus times when it's just sort of boring. Like obviously when characters all come out and they're generally strength, it's a little less exciting and a little less boring, but this also feels a little bit like we are accelerating maybe the power creep quite a bit, and that's quite also possibly a problem. So my end statement is that I'm not going to actually say we're in that kind of state yet, because I would like to see what the next few characters look like before I really panic and get angry. But let me know what your thoughts are, because so far it definitely seems that every new character is pushing further and further ahead and leaving more and more behind. But we'll have to see what a very interesting video I think will be Peachin's next meta share video, where he takes a look at what the elemental percentage is up in the top end guilds to see how that has changed, whether light or dark has made a resurgence, or whether wind is going to push everyone out. We'll keep an eye on it, and we'll bring it to you as soon as we can. Thanks so much for watching. Sorry for the delay on the testing video, but given everything that has happened, I thought that this video would be a little more informative, and probably will do the test video this week. Later.